duck, 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 goose. Hi, I'm Cortney Pache, your friendly neighborhood collections technician for human history at the Manitoba Museum, and today I'm going to talk to you all about our amazing collection of duck decoys. Before we get into looking at these decoys, I want to talk to you a little bit about where they were used. So we're talking about Delta Marsh, which is one of North America's largest freshwater coastal marshes. It's located north of Portage la Prairie and just along sort of the south bank of Lake Manitoba. Delta Marsh is known for attracting lots of different waterfowl, so things like ducks and geese. And in the mid-20th century, it was a great place for famous folks from around the world, including Gable, to come up and hunt waterfowl. The folks who would be working with people like Gable or Teddy Roosevelt, who are up here doing a nice little hunt, were often Métis men who lived in the area. Decoys come in lots of forms. The ones I'm talking about today are all carved out of wood and for the most part are painted. Decoys would be placed in the water and used to attract other waterfowl to the area. And then once they had settled, then the hunting could begin. We're going to start over here by talking a little bit about these two decoys that were made by a guide and decoy maker named Bruce Chartrand. So Bruce Chartrand often worked with mallards. Here we see an example of a mallard hen. And then over here we actually have a canvasback drake or male duck. These decoys in front of me here were made by a man named Duncan Ducharme. Duncan Ducharme was a trapper, a fisherman, a hunter, a guide, and a decoy carver. He was particularly known for his work as a canvasback hunter. What we have here are some examples of his work. This over here is a canvasback. This is an example of a decoy that was used. You can see where it would have been tethered in the water here on the underside. And then we have two unfinished pieces. So this one here, once painted, would represent a green-winged teal. And then over here, we have our only decoy in flight, and it's to represent a bluebill. Duncan Ducharme learned the art of decoy making by learning from his uncle, Dan Ducharme, and his father, Little Joe Ducharme. Now, before you go running to look up what a bluebill looks like, let me just show one to you right now. Right over here, we have an example of a bluebill, and this was made by a Métis hunter, guide, and decoy carver named Louis Ducharme. So this is a bluebill drake. What I really like about this one in particular, from the set that I pulled for us today, are how prominent its eyes are. So all three of the carvers whose work I've presented to you here all hail from the St. Ambroise area of Manitoba, which is very close to Delta Marsh. These examples were also all carved in the 1940s and the 1950s. If you visit us here at the Manitoba Museum, you can see examples of other types of decoys made by these gentlemen and also others down in our galleries. Thanks so much for joining me today.